East of Westeros lies the smoking sea, where no ship dares sail. There are those who swear it to be demon-haunted, and who's to say they're wrong? For it was there, thousands of years ago, that a cataclysmic event occurred, destroying one of the great civilizations in history.
They held each other close, then turned their backs upon the end. The hills that split asunder, and the black that ate the skies. The flames that shot so high and hot that even dragons burned.
Last year, around Halloween, I made a video on one of the scariest places in the A Song of Ice and Fire world. It was the area around the Five Forts and Grey Waste. I'll link that video down below. This year, we're looking at a more well-known spot, the ruined city of Valyria and the region around it in Essos. But despite being more recognizable, it's almost as mysterious as the Five Forts and Grey Waste. Prior to the Doom, Valyria was part of a peninsula in southern Essos. The Valyrians were shepherds until they discovered dragons and bonded with them. Previously, the Giscari Empire had ruled the area, but once the Valyrians claimed dragons, they overthrew and destroyed the Giscari, then created and expanded their own empire through Essos, which came to be known as the Valyrian Freehold. The Valyrians lived among the volcanoes that were known as the 14 Flames. It's believed that these volcanoes were kept under control through the magic of Valyrian sorcerers, a point we'll get back to a little later. The empire which Valyria built was literally on the backs of dragons and also the backs of the slaves that they used to mine gold beneath the volcanoes. The area the Freehold controlled at their height was most of western Essos. Their society was similar to ancient Greece or Rome. The Valyrians had great technological advancements and also believed that they were descended from dragons. Like Rome, Valyria was the center of the world at the time until the Doom, which was caused by the eruption of the 14 volcanoes. There were 40 dragon-riding families in Valyria. The Targaryens were a more minor house among them, but it was Daenerys who foresaw the Doom. Her dream led the Targaryens to leave Valyria for Dragonstone. Dragonstone at the time was already an outpost for the Valyrian Freehold, with the castle built prior, but the Targaryens were the first ones to live there. When the Doom arrived, it was due to the eruption of the 14 volcanoes. The destruction was total and extended across the region. Cities were swallowed up, and dragons fell from the sky as the volcanoes completely changed the landscape. Valyria was no longer a part of a peninsula, as much of the area surrounding it became the Smoking Sea, as you can see the before and after changes in the maps. Most ominously, no person that visits Valyria comes out alive, the exception being Arya Targaryen, but we'll get to her in a little bit. Shortly after the Doom, Orion, the only non-Targaryen dragon lord left standing, declared himself Emperor of Valyria and took 30,000 men with him to reclaim it. None of them were ever seen again. Then it was the turn of the people of Volantis. They sent an entire fleet, which also disappeared. Not dissuaded by all of those that had gone to Valyria to never return, King Tommen II, a Lannister of Casterly Rock, decided to take his own fleet there to loot the great wealth of the Valyrians, but he and his forces joined the others before him. Closer to the events of Game of Thrones, Tywin's brother, Gerion Lannister, decided to sail to Valyria too. He wanted to recover the Lannister ancestral sword Brightroar, which King Tommen had taken with him, and like Tommen before him, he wanted to loot Valyrian treasure. He, of course, never returned. Tywin, though, sent men to look for him. When they got to Volantis, they found half the crew, which had more sense than Gerion. They had refused to go with him when they learned he was headed to Valyria. Speaking of the Lannisters, some people might be thinking of the scene in Game of Thrones where Tyrion and Jorah navigated their way through Old Valyria. The imagery here was nice and giving us an eerie look at what Valyria once was, but this never happened in the books. So no, these two did not survive a trip to Valyria. There was a different duo, though, that did manage to escape the region. It was Arya Targaryen on the back of Balerion. Over 1 year after her disappearance, Arya returned to King's Landing on the Black Dread. She was close to death with a high fever. The maesters said that it seemed as if she was cooking from within and that there were swellings beneath her skin that moved. When she was placed in ice just before her death, slimy, unspeakable things emerged from her. The creatures, though, died in the ice water. It's believed that Balerion decided to fly Aria back to Valyria, where he had been born, and the creatures that infected her were the result of the doom, perhaps the fireworms that were believed to live within the volcanoes. There were some scars and wounds on Balerion as well, but he would go on to live another 37 years. It's appropriate that the most formidable dragon seen in Westeros is the only living creature known to escape the area and live on. What's interesting, too, is that the region just north of Valyria is known as the Lands of the Long Summer, just as the area beyond the Wall in Westeros is the Land of Always Winter. It's a bookend of potential calamities, one being of ice and the other fire. Adding even more mystery to the doom is its cause. Many believe it wasn't just a simple volcanic eruption and had to do with magic, or perhaps the lack thereof, as in the Valyrians not having enough sorcerers to contain the 14 flames. The Faceless Men, the trained assassins who have their temple at the House of Black and White in Braavos, had their predecessors who were originally slaves that worked the mines in Valyria. Some believe that the Faceless Men assassinated top Valyrian family members, including sorcerers. The various Dragon Lord factions were always fighting amongst one another, so they could have hired the Faceless Men to do these jobs. There was also a prophecy that the gold of Casterly Rock would destroy Valyria. The Valyrians noticeably avoided the Lannister gold despite the extensive mining they did within their own volcanoes. But the Lannisters did acquire a Valyrian sword, Bright Roar, the one King Tommen II had taken with him during his expedition to Valyria. They paid an exorbitant amount of gold for that sword, and there are some that believe that in exchange, a Valyrian family took that gold and paid the Faceless Men to kill a member of a rival family, thereby triggering the prophecy. Some wonder if the Targaryens, being a minor family, instigated the doom through the prophecy, but I think it's unlikely, since they already left Valyria due to Dany's dream and didn't have interest in the region any longer. I think it would be more likely Orion, the only dragon lord aside from the Targaryens to survive the doom, who declared himself emperor and then tried to reclaim it. But Valyria can't be survived, let alone reclaimed, when it was only Balerion who endured a trip there. The mystery of its demise and its danger are both intriguing. The area around Valyria is one of smoking seas, toxic air, lethal creatures like the ones that inflicted Arya, and the demons that are said to live within the area. Valyria is not only one of the scariest places in Martin's world, but it's most dangerous. If you enjoyed this one, make sure to hit the like button. If you're interested in more on House of the Dragon and A Song of Ice and Fire, listen to Caraxes and subscribe. I want to thank everyone for watching, and I'll see you soon.